Yeah, if we just plod on, because I know the others are trying to get in and will get in, and the main point is we're recording the meeting so it can get put online so people can see what's happening.
Okay.
So if you're happy to just plod on, David, and give a brief outline of what's happening with the community woodland.
Okay, yes, if you like. Obviously, the Scottish Forestry, or what used to be called Forest Commission, have a grant package called Woods in and Around Towns. And I have been processing wild schemes for many years now. And 3 of them I've been processing for Forest Direct. And this is the 3rd one. I think this is a very exciting little project, and it is basically focused on woodlands and not open land, which is not within woodlands. So you have to bear that in mind. At this little golf course area, there are 4 blocks of woodlands of different sizes, but none of them are particularly big, and none of them are particularly fat. But they are fat enough to put in some paths and do some improvements to them. And obviously, sorry?
Just carry on, David.
And so a couple of years ago, Jim as in Jim Knight, when he was working for the council and when I was working for the Forestry Commission at the time, we've had a lot of discussions over time and trying to kickstart a wild scheme in Eyemouth in this particular area. And Jim, I have to offer him his credit that he's been secretly kicking my backside about this for a long time. And with your help, James, we're actually nearly there. The proposed works have been considered carefully by a lot of people, and as you know, we had a community drop-in session, and you've had a newspaper article and been in touch with the school and all that sort of stuff. And so there is a fair amount of local knowledge about what's going on. But then again, there is a tendency for people to only look at something that is interesting to them, and they might find out about it later. So it's quite important to keep the conversation going with as many people as possible. And the community council is obviously a key element to this endless communication. The woodlands were owned by the council, and my understanding with James and Tricia Hill from the council that they are in the process of transferring the ownership, not the ownership as in the management of the woodlands, to the community. So it allows the community council to and manage those woodlands as if they are a community woodland. And I think this is a massive, massive benefit. It might be a bit stressful in the short term, and you might wonder what to do and all the hassle associated with that. But I think there is a huge amount of courage that the community council are taking this on, and I'm very appreciative of that courage. We had a few walkabouts, and we walked about a month or 2 ago, and we agreed the sort of works that needed to be done. Primarily, these works are woodland management, paths, and signage. Those are the 3 main elements at this stage. The critical element which will transform the look of the woodlands is obviously the woodland management, which is basically cleaning, thinning, brushing, pruning a little bit here and there, removing path edge trees, removing branches which overhang, removing some old fences, removing some litter, and generally speaking, opening up and freshening up the woodlands quite significantly, removing about 50% of the stems overall at least. And then once the woodlands have all been thinned, and James can talk about his vision of who's going to do all this work, but anyway, once the woodlands have been thinned, then the idea would be to mark out lines where we're going to put paths in, and we have already indicated on the map roughly where these paths are going to go, but give or take a few meters here or there, they will be pretty much where we've decided them to go. And there will be paths throughout these woodlands. Most of these paths will be 1.5 meters wide, if I remember rightly, and the rest will be 1.2 meters wide. And so this gives a lot of potential for different types of users of these paths, whether they be children on bicycles, for example, or mothers with prams and buggies, or even some disabled usage for sort of powered wheelchair type situations, which would be tremendous. And so the potential for these paths is only just being thought through. Once you've actually got infrastructure in place, once you've got the woodlands feeling safe and comfortable, then it's really very much for the community council themselves and the community to come up with ideas of how to use these woodlands proactively. There's obvious things like runs and walks and buggy races and whatever you care to suggest, just to sort of make people smile for a minute, which is always good. There's always other things like barbecues and picnics and nature and Zoom meetings outside if you're enough of a computer buff to understand how to make that happen. And so there's plenty of potential in these woodlands, but the main thing is that they all link to each other, and they potentially link to paths which are already in place near the golf course and near the high school and all these other places, so that there is a potential for a fairly strong network, which I think is of significance, really. The works are going to cost about £80,000, and the grant will be coming from the Scottish Forestry, if all goes to plan. It will cost £87,000 of grant, basically. It does not necessarily mean that £87,000 has to come out of the community council's wallet, but it does mean that Jay and his team have to find ways of making the project work financially. And a lot of this is hanging off shoulders of volunteers, of businesses locally who are prepared to do work and maybe take just firewood or timber or wood chip or something in lieu of it. It might come off people offering to, in a sense, sponsor a bit of fencing or sponsor some trees, etc., as a way of taking the sting out of the finances a little bit. There's also the potential for Eyemouth community to find, dare I say it, a wealthy friend who can help to up some of the funds, because as I've explained to James many times, the problem with the grants from the Forest Commission is that they are paid and in stages, but always at the end of the stage, not at the beginning. And therefore, to pay contractors, to pay for this, that, and the other, you do need to have some pocket money in your bank account to deal with that. And ideally, you have a friendly person with a reasonably good bank account who can maybe upfront some of that money, and then you can pay it back later once the grant is paid, for example.
Can I pop in? We've got a question from Morgan.
James wants to say something. Yeah. Go on, James.
Right, Morgan?
Yeah. One of the things that we'd already discussed, and it sort of got lost because other things took precedence, was actually building a completely wild kids play park, like some of the ones they have in London, where you put in facilities like wood, nails, a fire pit, stuff, and you just let kids play. Most of them have a one adult supervision when they're open, but that would be something I'd really love to see at Eyemouth, because our kids don't get to play nature around here because the way that everything is.
Outdoor play and learning, that's incorporated. I put that in with everything, and that's going to come off the back of the work we're doing with the school. So what the school help with, we're hoping to get them interested and take it from there. I can explain more about that. We've got about a year to slog before we get to that point. Oh, sorry, I'm looking at a screen and trying to mute people to stop feedback. So if you think my eyes are all over the place, they are. Okay, David, please. Sorry if I've cut you off.
Carry on, David.
No, I think I've sort of covered the main points. I think the points which I'm trying to stress here is that the community council, through you, James, are having to, in a sense, use volunteers as much as possible and to help finance the project internally, knowing at the same time that the Scottish Forestry are also funding these things. And so there are activities which need to be done and which you will get grant for, but if you can get it done for free or for part the price, then it allows the community council to re-input that cash value back into its own bank account to pay for things which maybe it can't fund fully. There are things like removing old fences, for example, which is just manual labor, which should be easily done. There's some sort of post and rail fences at the front of some access locations, which could easily be done for free or just buy the material, for example. And I have suggested, and I've seen some recently, where actually the post and rails were painted different colors and set in different angles and different patterns, sponsored by a school, and they do it and they paint it and they make it look pretty, and it becomes unique to them as a way of developing a spirit of place to this location. And there's lots of other things like sponsoring signposts and this like that, and you could even have sort of little memorial plaques for 30 quid or 50 quid or something, basically saying, in memory of my Jack Russell, which, or whatever, something like that. It's up to the community to find ways to try to make the project as special to the community of Eyemouth as possible. And obviously, very much, critically in fact, involving all the schools that you can find, because in the process of thinning it and cleaning the woodlands, there will be holes in that woodland. The reason why there's going to be a lot of holes in the woodland is because there's a lot of ash trees growing in there. And nearly all, if not all, of those ash trees are either dead or about to die from a disease called ash dieback, unfortunately. And a lot of the trees were ash that were planted at the time. So there will be big holes in this woodland. And it might look a bit strange, but that is actually an opportunity. Like every problem, there is actually an opportunity off it. And part of the application is to apply for grants to plant trees, and for the schools particularly, and their parents and their supporters, to plant individual trees in protection within these gaps, so that there is a canopy difference in height and a color difference and a tonal difference and a species difference throughout the woodlands, but at the same time making sure the woodlands still maintain their attractiveness, their openness, their sense of security, etc., along those lines. And then, of course, there's all the paths, which are all surface paths, so that you can run on them easily, you can jog on them, you can walk on them, you can do whatever you need to do on them. And then there's going to be signage, which again reassures people. Obviously, people who go there every day don't need reassurance, but occasionally there's an opportunity for the community to maybe try to get in some new people to the area over maybe a publicity event or bonfire night or something like this, and actually get different people there. And then obviously the signage gives them reassurance, and that's always a good thing to have.
Yeah.
And I think ultimately, the more people use it, the more likely woodlands will be looked after, the more likely litter will be taken home rather than dumped, the more likely garden rubbish won't be dumped into the woodlands. And I think that overall the woodlands will become more and more of an asset to Eyemouth and that particular area.
Yeah.
I think one thing that's been driving this all the time is that there is a lot of housing potential, or at least in the local plan, which Jim can talk about briefly, but in the local plan, there are areas which are allocated for housing. This obviously hasn't taken place yet, and hasn't taken place for some time, and may not take place for a long time. I don't know. But I think that as soon as people start moving into these areas, then it will be a fantastic asset for them to have woodlands on their doorstep, with paths, with picnic tables, with seating, with signage, all built in and all done properly. Another feature which I want to just quickly throw into you is the fact that this grant called the Wyatt Scheme has been going for a long time, as long as I can remember. And although things may change because of Brexit and because the Scottish government is having to pay for all the grants themselves fairly soon, and not get half of it from Europe, which is how it has been, because what I'm trying to say is that the Wyatt Scheme has been going on for a long time, and usually you can reapply for more grants in 10 years' time. In 10 years' time, that therefore, if before 10 years, you therefore review your management plan. You therefore have another review as to what is needed. And maybe if there are a load of houses, maybe you need to do some other things that can add maybe more powers, more setting, more problems. And if you know that the grant scheme is existing and continues to exist for 10 years and more, then you can come back in at year 10 to do some further remedial works or some more upgrades.
Yeah.
Okay?
Should we see if anybody's got any questions?
Anybody got any questions? No?
No.
Well, that's good. I have been trying to explain it to everybody as we go.
Have we got happy faces? Everybody looking quite content with all this? Yeah, there's I see a few smiles. That's good.
A lot of work, but yeah, we're up for the challenge.
Well, I think that from the only bit I would say, sorry, go on.
I'm actually involved with somebody else in another social enterprise doing exactly the same thing. My worry is the huge stress of having paid out tens of thousands of pounds from bucket A that you've found and then waiting for it to come back. My friend who's just put 50 grand into a site and she's been promised that she's got 50 grand of money from the Scottish government, but the fact that they won't pay till the work is finished means she's had to find the 50 grand from other people. And I just wonder if that's too much of a stress for a community council.
I think the key point that my understanding is from what David, particularly what the message from David is that I think you need to phase the works carefully so that you start off, you give a little bit of money left over from the initial budget, I think maybe a couple of thousand or something if you're lucky. And then by using these easy jobs like removing fences and things, by doing that through volunteers, which is basically doing it for free, you can then reclaim that money from the Wyatt scheme. David will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you can claim that money from the Wyatt scheme in a phased way, which then adds to your coffers, and then you use that money that you've claimed to go on and do the next thing, which is the thing that you maybe need professional help for. So you don't do it all in one hour. Yeah.
I do understand that. It's just that the community council realistically is at capacity. Yeah. And I think it's wonderful. I will vote for it. I will hope it happens. But I just need to put a warning note that I think that's an awful lot of extra stress to put onto our volunteers' heads, all the volunteers sitting here.
I've got another plan for that, which we'll talk about shortly, that might alleviate that.
Okay.
David's been quite good in making sure that the steps that we go through on this reach the point where we get funding. It's going to be a nice and easy way to move forward. And if in 2-3 years we get to the end of the project and there's the payout for the last remainder of the work that's been completed, that money would be in a pot used for the outdoor classroom or anything else that we need. We could use that as we see fit for the community.
We could use them to put in the compass toilets.
Good.
I think the whole key to it is to do it in small bites rather than trying to do the whole thing in a one hour. You do manageable bites of the job and phase it, and that seems to be probably the best way to manage it.
Yeah, it's made it into as many doable bits as possible for us to work our way through. And you know what, if we get halfway through it and get half the paths done, it's further than we would
better
go.
than, yeah, exactly. You got anything else to add, David?
No, I think what I'm getting from this is that there is a very strong demand for it. And the concern about money is the most important concern, and one which I think we've discussed every single time we've met, and I've drummed it into James's head 100 times already. But I'm not trying to kill the project. I think we have to be creative about this. I think James is more than capable, and anyway, he can give me a call whenever he needs to. And I have endless imagination as to how to make other people pay for it. And I think that's really where it comes in, is trying to look at every single element that you're wanting to do and finding someone who will do it for free. And that takes time, but it's not impossible. And then there will be things like actually building the paths themselves, which is obviously the most critical element. The actual physical construction of the paths, which has to be done properly. And that's the thing which the grant, any surplus funds that you secure has to help towards the funding of the path. The path works should self-fund. In other words, the grant should balance. But the trouble is that the grants have been allocated by the Forest Commission about 7 years ago. And as you know, a loaf of bread or a pint of milk 7 years ago isn't quite the same price as it is today. And therefore, it's very much on the edge of just enough and maybe not quite enough. So it is important for James and the community to try to drag in a few quid here and there just to keep it as a safe pot to use for when things maybe go a bit more expensive than normal.
Yep, and I've taken all that on board, David. You have drummed it in my head, so thank you for that. It's stuck in there. It's not going anywhere. No, that's good.
I mean, the thing is, both Jim and I really want this to happen, but we know where the shortcomings are in this, having done it. Well, I've done it at least 6 times already, and 3 times recently. And this project is relatively, I'm not saying cheap, but it is relatively modest. The last 2 I was involved with, which was at Triquare and at Abbotsford and at the Haining, that's three, was about £215,000 each. And so £80,000 is relatively pain-free. But at the same time, I think because you're having to sort of find money, it forces you to actually involve the community far more than you would do if you just had a pot of money hidden around the corner. Because it forces you to engage with maybe other volunteer groups or other Rotary clubs or women's rurals or whatever it is you care to suggest. And they may all be happy, they may have just 200 or 300 quid in the bank, but they might buy the fence posts, they might buy signs, they might sponsor a sign, they might help all sorts of things. But I think the critical thing is if the woodlands are thinned and opened up, that alone will transform the woodlands.
Yeah.
And I think James has some sort of plans for how that is going to be done, which I leave James to discuss if he can.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Right. First things first. Because we're, as I've explained to David before, we're not going to be the community council for much longer, and SBC has asked us to put a trust in place to run the project, ensure that it's going to go ahead and it doesn't trip up and disappear when somebody else comes and takes over. So we're going to set up a trust, make sure this project goes ahead while still ensuring that the project is owned by the town through the community council. So that's one thing that was highlighted as a possible issue previously. So we're going to set that up. Money wise, one of the main things we're going to be doing is engaging with the school. Now, you'll know for previous projects, we've had kids from the school come and build fences and stuff with us. Went pretty well. I know Caroline Lace always keen to get the kids out into things like this, into woodlands and into nature and all that kind of thing. So once this is all in place and the lease, which Lucy, we need you to sign tomorrow, please. We've got the lease there. Once all that's signed and sent in, we'll be moving forward looking at getting the school kids in. Now they're going to be part of the main moving ahead, clearing the woods with the smaller twigs and so on, and the brushing of the trees. For the logging side of things, I'm going to be talking to some people that sell firewood, some small business people, and hopefully they're still going to be interested in coming in and logging what we don't want and taking that away, and they get their money by selling it as firewood. That's going to be one of the main ways we get the woodland cleared. And the stages, I'm hoping that we can start on the smallest stage and build up a bit of momentum from there. And the more people that have got a small business that are interested, that want to come and take some trees, come on in. We've got David's daughter with the spray paint. Can carry all that, so they take the correct ones. And it's really about getting to that first point where we've achieved taking down the fences and taking the first bite-size area and getting that cleared, getting the money in, and then seeing how much effort that realistically, because we have to evaluate how much effort's in it, because I'm not thinking it's going to be a quick job. Once we get past the first stage, we sort of evaluate and learn from how we've managed the first stage and move forward. And we're going to have Jim and David there to nag me and tell me when I'm doing things wrong, which is always good. So I'm hoping by going cautiously forward and involving as much of the community as possible safely, that we can get past the first stage. So I hope David's happy with that for a starter.
Yes, of course, yes. Just take it, as Jim says, bite-sized pieces. Do what you can, reassess what you've done, and then give everyone a pat on the back, and then move to the next chunk. And that's how it needs to be.
Yep.
Yep. And David and I are both around to give advice if you need a bit of help.
Yeah, you should never have retired, Jim. You should never have retired. Right. Well, if there's no more questions, everybody happy? Right.
We'll leave it.
Thank you very much to Jim and David for giving us that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
See you
Thank
soon.
you.
Thank
No
you.
problem. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye now. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, Jim. Thank you very much for the link.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, see you around.
I'll,
Right. We'll move on once Jim's gone. That's it. Right then. So that's our talk for the community. We'll move on to the main meeting now. Welcome and apologies. We've got apologies from Helen Lane, who's sadly got COVID. She is fine, but she gets very tired after tea time. So get well soon, Helen. I've not got apologies from anybody else. Obviously, Billy and Jim can't be involved in the meeting because they're not online, which is unfortunate. So did everybody receive the minutes? Yes. Cool. Right, can I have a proposer and a seconder for the minutes?
I'll propose them, please.
Seconder, anyone?
I'll second.
Thank you, Davina. Okie doke. I like this bit. I said it would be a short meeting. Chair report. I've not done anything. Sorry, I've been very quiet this month because I've been very busy with work. So, chair report, apart from I'm going to have to work on the Woodland Trust thing, set all that up. Quiet. Secretary's report, I believe, will be just as quiet.
Yeah, none.
There we go, nothing's happening. We're all playing catch up with stuff that's been going on. Treasurer's report.
Right, the opening balance was £26,765.84. Expenditure, PAFs 150, enhancement group 30, BMX track £513.60, COVID relief work £31. So the total expenditure was £724.60. Income, community council grant 990, total income was 990. Ring fenced amounts, ACE £1,326.58. Town signage £1,417.94. Memorial Walk £101.30. Shopfront grant £16,908.85. BMX track £1,470.22. Drone Hill funding £1,369.31. SBC Floral Grant, 149.50. Paths, 1,050. Community Fridge, 14.52. COVID, £1,901.99. Donations, £566.67. Available at the council, £754.36, and the closing balance was £27,031.24.
Well done, Lucy. Counting. Much appreciated. And that's without my tickets added on from a holiday. Right then. I'm going to give you a play park update. I was speaking to Councillor David Parker in an email. He's going to be emailing across the details that we discussed. John, Lucy, and was it just you?
Yeah, it's just us two.
Just used to. We had to have minimal numbers for a meeting with Councillor Parker on different sites. So I was working, so John and Lucy went. The main thing that came out of that is that our role in this isn't to say where we want the play park. It's to say the community want a chance to have an opinion, and they're looking at doing a public consultation so the community will have choices about what they want. So it could be in the Tavern car park. We're looking at the green site.
Yes.
Green site, which confused things a little bit from an SBC thing view. But the main thing is they're going to come forward with 2 or 3 options and then do a public consultation on it. And then it's in the public's hands, which it should be. So look forward to receiving that email from Councillor Parker. I'll catch up with him probably the end of this week. I'll give him an email just to remind him, because I'm sure he's very busy. So anybody any questions about the play park thing? Everybody happy? Like this. Right.
Can I ask?
Yep.
Hiya. So obviously we were up at the pitches site with your local council, community councillors. Is there a way we can do a public survey, a public consultation ourselves? Because we're looking at that as maybe the best way forward, but it just depends on what you think yourselves.
When I get the information back for Councillor Parker, you might have a different idea, but I would suggest that as that's coming forward, that consultation, and with the green space being forward as one of the sites for what's it called, Destination Play Park, it would maybe be a chance for your residential group to jump on that and say, this is us promoting that, and use that consultation, get that point across to SBC that that's where you want it, and see how much support you can get from that. I would really make the most of the consultation that they're offering. If you think that would be a way forward.
Have you any idea how they're going to do a consultation, or are they just going to inform you how?
They are going to do it online, as far as I'm aware. Morgan?
Just to answer that point about 2 different agencies doing the same survey, that just completely goes against everything we're trying to do in terms of protecting volunteer hours. So if there was a reason that you wanted to do it specifically for you, I mean, obviously you can do that. Nobody is saying don't do that. But I would just question the use of all our volunteer hours to do 2 things simultaneously. I'm not sure what the end objective to that is.
Yeah, maybe that's something we could have a chat about and see what you think you would like to put forward. And there's a good chance we could get in touch with Councillor Parker and say, could that be something that joined up, and then SBC staff are get paid for it, they're going to be doing the work. You could use that process to promote the book that you want, sort of thing.
That's fine. It's absolutely fine. We were just looking at, I didn't know that they were going to consult widely because that's what's needed. And obviously we can do an online survey ourselves, but you're absolutely right. There's no point in doing it if it's going to be done. So we'll just maybe wait to hear what comes back from SBC. That's fine. That's fine.
I'll give him a little nudge and see how far we've gotten. He was quite keen that we got a public consultation going, and you know, if you push your feelings about where it should go and get enough support, then that's where it'll go. So that's the way we want it to work. Everybody has a chance to say. So
Yep.
If you're happy with that,
That's fine, James. Yeah.
Morgan.
I mean, at this point, there is absolutely no even thought of what any concrete plans are. We've been told there was money. We've been given several sets of options. They've asked us which areas would we like to see covered in Eyemouth. So we've to put forward suggestions of where different things could be built. But there's been absolutely nothing about where it's going, just about what options to put forward. So everything's completely in the air. The reason you're not hearing any discussion of whether or not we want to put this here or there is because nobody's even had that discussion.
I think the problem was that the main plans were in the Tavern car park, and that was highlighted as one of the main ones in need without asking anybody. So
Is that what happened?
yeah, so we've managed to sort of rewind a little bit, and you know.
Well, that's good, because obviously a destination park is very attractive, and when you see, you know, what's in other towns, it would be a real asset, and to the especially to young people, and it would be all abilities too. So
Yeah.
you know, they build it that way, so it's got great attraction for the local people. Obviously, that has to be part of the survey. Would you like something like this? You know, so that's fine if they're going to do that. We'll wait to hear what that is that they come up with. That's fine, James.
That's grand. Thank you very much, Nick. Okie dokie. Any other questions on the play park?
I'd just like to say that I know nobody likes the idea of spending it on the bantry. I still think it's a good idea. Not all of it, obviously.
Well, we know what box you'll be ticking in the public consultation.
Yes.
Hello, Jan. Good to see you now.
Oh, hi, Jan.
You want to ask a question?
How much is in the pot for the play park again?
200,000.
200,000.
Right.
It may go up to 250,000. That's what you said, Dixie, didn't it?
It says it might go up, but it won't go down.
Yeah, it might go up to 200,000, but it may go up to 250,000, because I think the point we made was that Coldstream has got much smaller population in Eyemouth, and if they spent 250,000 in Coldstream, and Eyemouth is the biggest town in Berwickshire, we definitely should get 250,000.
It went clean out my head what I was about to say. I hate that.
Right, we'll go to Davina.
No, it can be split into different parks though, can't it?
That's going to be one of the options. That's not set in stone.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Davina?
Hi James, hi everybody. I've actually met a few folk that have been on about this, and I must say a lot of people aren't keen on the tavern car park. I think it's because at the minute it's an age group for small children. Would that be changed, and would it be made that it could fit more ages than toddlers and small kids, which at the minute that's all that the tavern car park focuses on, apart from the sort of rope ladders, but there seems to be, it's for a smaller age group.
What if the new one went in the tavern car park, could it change?
It'd be covering a bigger age group, because and it's same, I must admit, anytime I go along, it's kiddies or small children, not teenagers that use the bigger park up at Dean Head.
I think it was smaller scale equipment that was on the plan for the last meeting, so that would sort of
so it would be
towards
for a smaller age group rather than the one that, you know how the one at the Dean Head Park's for a
Yeah.
larger, yeah, it's just a few.
Well, again, we can put that in a survey
Mhm.
and ask if people agree with that or what they think about it. It can just be
Because-
just another option.
It does seem more focused on a smaller, you know, the smaller age group, the
Mhm.
smaller
But
kids.
I think that reflects the fact that it's there as much for the tourists, who are important to the town. And I do see teenagers on it at Herring Queen and things. You know, it's when there's a big event down there, the teenagers are all in there on the big thing. But I agree, perhaps we need to have something bigger. But again, it's just that would go in the options. And we could ask people what they think.
Mm.
Yep, that's going to be the important thing from our point of view, that we make sure that everybody gets a chance to have a say. We know it's going to be an inclusive play park. At this point, everything else is a bit, we don't know, because we've worked towards trying to let people have their say. So we'll see how the consultation goes. Councillor Parker's going to be in touch before any of that's done. Let us know exactly how he's going to progress. So I'll let everybody know how that goes. I'll let Tom and Dixie know. Yeah. See.
I think, being honest, you'd really, Eyemouth would really be missing a trick if they didn't see this as an option, an opportunity to have, you know, a brand new destination park additional to what's existing. It's not, we're not going to take any of these parks away. It's additional, and the chance of spending that kind of money rather than splitting it around, I think, is just too good a trick to miss. And I think, you know, place from where the primary school is, nurseries, it's just got so many advantages. And it would be, you could have, it will have something that's for all ages and all abilities, because that's what they do. That's exactly what they offer, you know.
It's in the centre of town, so nobody can argue that, oh, we don't have anything like that up our end. If it's in the middle of the town, then everybody can access it rather than having it stuck up at one side or at the other side. Plus, there's not really anything in the middle of town. There's no play parks in the centre of the town.
Right, Morgan, you're muted.
But
Yeah.
the issue there is the eternal one, which is parking and car parks and traffic. Because if we're bringing people to the destination play park, we do have to be able to have somewhere they can park. So that has to be taken into consideration.
Which is
Mrs.
why-
hand went up.
Sorry, we saw that when we visited the site with David. We pointed out that there is large space here. There's a small car park there at present, but there's a large area that could be made into a car park as well. So yes, you know, it's an ideal area for not only parking, but for a huge play park for all ages of the kids. So
That's one of the downsides to the Dean Head Park, is there is not any parking for anybody. The only parking that's really about is outside our house, and that's limited as it is. So it's not really, there's nowhere else for them to park.
I think with a bit of creativity and foresight, you could have. You just need to imagine, you know, an actual public park with this destination park in the middle of it, with parking, and you know, you can just see how that would be in the middle of Eyemouth. And this should have been dreamt about, you know, 20 years ago. The opportunity is here now to actually have something like that. And we should be looking to fight for something like that, if that's what the public wants.
That's the next posters, Dixie.
Yeah.
Rightio. So we'll look forward to the consultation that for David Parker. Right. I was to have a community campus update from the new lady that's taken over the forthcoming public consultation, but I haven't heard back from her. Carol, are you there? How's this working?
Yeah, I'm here.
There you are. I don't know if I can wave because I can't see you. Is there any update on the public consultation for the community campus?
No, not yet. I have a meeting tomorrow on that.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, that's fine.
It's not going to move quickly.
Okay. Right. Fine. So is that no information? So we'll just move on for that. Harbour front update. I was hoping Donald was going to be here, but I've not seen Donald for a while. The harbour front, knocking down of the old fish market and museum and stuff. That's all good to go. They've had to take into account the work going on at Park Street.
So seriously, we're going to get rid of that eyesore.
Yes.
Oh, so happy! I didn't know that. Oh, thank goodness for that.
They started in the drilling in the ground to test the ground and everything, and they're moving forward with it. So hopefully, in early 21, that will move forward and disappear. And what they're going to put on it is still up for debate. And they've been really good with consulting the public and everything and giving everybody a say in what happens. So we'd really look out on the Harbour Trust website and stuff. I think they've got a Facebook page now, haven't they? All that sort of stuff. So look out for them offering the opportunity to say what to go there, because there's some nice options available. And if you go and support the options, they'll support us. So yeah, look out for that. And that's all I know, because I've not got Donald tonight. Right, subgroup report. Right, as we all know, our 4 years is nearly up. So, smiles, look at the smiles. On the 31st of March 21, bring everything back in line with what it should have been before the last council was in abeyance. Our term is up at the end of March. So we have to bring our projects a natural end, or we have to secure them in case nobody else comes forward. I don't know how SBC are going to suggest that new councils are formed and stuff if they're going to do them on Zoom. I'm sure there's plenty of people who would like to be on the council from home. Personally, I can't stand it. It's torture. I like to see you all in person and have a cup of coffee. But on the 31st of March, we'll put in the Berwickshire for a new council to come forward, and everybody who's wanting to give an opinion and do something for the town in their own time and receive no reward at all, except wrinkles and grey hair, they are going to be welcome to come forward and form the new council. Failing that, we've done our 4 years, and I think I speak for everybody when I say I'm tired and I've done my share. So the enhancement group, as we agreed back in, I don't know what year, 3 and a bit years ago, we brought the enhancement group back under the community council umbrella, under the agreement that it would leave the community council again when there was another election, just to secure that group and make sure it went forward and kept working as it does, because it's a successfully run group. So the enhancement group will be from the 31st of March back to an independent group. Because they've been an independent group previously for a number of years, everything's set up for that. The woodland, that'll be a new management group with the Forest Trust set up. I need to look into all that, all those details, and I'll get them to you of how we move forward. That's basically an agreement for the trust to manage the project, while at the same time securing the lease of the ground and the woodland as a whole for the town, not part of any trust or any little group. It's for the town. And from my point of view, it's really important that we do that, even though we're going to be running it with a trust, make sure there's continuity for the project. I find it really important that it remains the town's project. So that's what I'm going to be writing up in an agreement. We have the paths maintenance. Now we have, what do we have? I can't remember how much money. We've got money left over, which was funding from Falgo Wind Farm it's not left over, it's to pay Terry Smith. He was the agreed contractor. So I've asked Terry if he would agree set months to continue maintaining the paths. So if there is a 6 month lapse with the community council or longer, he will see to the paths through 2021. So we're putting in place something that secures that for the next year. Would everybody be in agreement with that? Because it would mean paying them contract up front. Yeah, right, okay.
Yeah, because he's been very good. He's been very good so far.
Right.
And it's an Eyemouth contractor as well.
Well, he's the one that has to get the money because the funder said, so it's just,
All right,
I want to make sure everybody is in agreement with that. Right, community fridge. Dan, we'll need to have a discussion about that. I'm not sure what's going to happen with the community fridge. Right now, the community fridge is tied in with every other group in Berwickshire, all working side by side. So we can't let that lapse. But I don't know about the technicalities of it. The group itself, the funding that we've put in place to secure the food and the deliveries for the next year, that's all still in place. So that'll run smoothly, but the physical fridge itself, I'm not sure about that. It's possible it could be an independent group. However, we need to look at all of that and then,
Right, going to get back to the community centre.
well, exactly, it's in the community centre. Morgan?
Can't we just move it?
No.
Why not? We own the fridge. We
Massive.
physically own the fridge, and we own the and the legal control of the fridge is ours. Well, in fact, it's mine actually. Now that I think about it, why can't we just move the fridge?
Where, Morgan? Where?
Well, they're already saying that. I mean, what are the options for down at the front? Sorry, down at the harbour, if they bring the harbour down.
Yeah,
I mean, they can. There might be somewhere we can move it to where it gets the best use. It might not even be in Eyemouth since they're making us work through Reston. But we physically own that fridge and we're the only people licensed to run it. And it is horrible that we can't get into our own community centre, but at least we should just put that option forward.
Anne, you're still muted, mind.
They're already saying that it's going to go to the campus when the campus gets up and running, so it will be moving anyway, by the sounds of it. So
well, that
you
project,
don't necessarily, the way they're speaking about it, it's going to be moved anyway, so we could move it somewhere else.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I like the fact that other people are talking about where it's going to go, and it's ours. You know, we have the receipt. We paid for it.
maybe we need a meeting with us, discuss the options and go through, because obviously Morgan and Jan, you went through all the stuff set up with Gwen, all the different legal stuff to be able to do it. So it's quite a big thing. Can't just hand it over to new people who don't have the hygiene certificates and all the rest of it. So
Exactly.
it's very complicated, although it runs very smoothly and everything's going absolutely fine. And we're doing, you know, food parcels 3-4 a week, which is quite high for Eyemouth for food parcels. It's working as it's supposed to. It's supporting quite a lot of people with bits and bobs here and there. To set it up and move it, that complicated. So I think we need a separate meeting for that. Morgan?
I'd just like to point out that all those food grade tubs and the mat are physically mine. I bought them.
You just can't get in the community centre. Taking tramps.
I mean, we're the community council. You'd think we could get into our own community centre.
Well, apparently not. Okay then. Right, so we'll have another meeting about the fridge together, and then we'll narrow down the options and see where we go from there. I think sitting down with Logan as well from Reston is going to be a good idea. Okay, other subgroup that we need to think about. What other ones do we have? We've been trying to narrow them down. Have we narrowed them down enough?
Who's the BMX track under? Is that the enhancement group?
I'll need to check the paperwork. I'll need to check the lease. I'll check on that.
That was
I will
only
check on that. Right, I'll write that down.
I think that's it.
I think that's it, because we've been trying to give ourselves less work.
Yes.
Like that work.
That happened.
Right. Okie dokie. Any other business?
Well, actually, just under the subgroups, I'd just like to say, you know, from the enhancement group side, we've been very well provided again by, like, say, James Cook. You know, we've received well over £160 worth of daffodils. We've had a good contribution from Davy McNeil, and then we've had a massive contribution of plants from the spa shop at the garage. So again, you know, and we've been last 3 Tuesdays, we've been working with kids from the high school with Caroline Lath. Now, the main point is we're not just digging holes and shoving daffodil bulbs in, we're having a bit of banter. I definitely noticed the difference between the first week that we started working with this new group and the third week. You know, it was they were kind of quiet and the second week picking up. And the third week there was a lot of banter, a lot of jazzing going on, even sharing the food. You know, so that's what we need to do. We need to get through to these youngsters. And another thing that happened the other day, when I was driving down from the cemetery, and there was 3 of them walking up. The window opened, somebody shouted, "Hi, John." No clue he was, but that means we're getting through to these youngsters. You know, if we could get them to understand that the plants and the daffodils and the planters down the street are theirs as well, we've got less chance of getting any trouble, and we've got, you know, it's something for them to look forward to in the future and us to have a little bit more peace.
And on that, what I normally say at this point, which is, could we all just remember how much work everybody here has done and say well done and a pat on the back? And, you know, we do appreciate the vast amount of volunteer hours that you carve out to make this happen. So thank you very much, everybody, again.
We want to get out there and do something. We don't want to sit and watch television.
Keeps them fit.
Keeps us fit.
Although I have to say your balance has been a bit dodgy lately. Right, questions from the public? Dixie, have you got anything you want to ask? Or
No.
You're still muted, mind, Dixie.
No, I was very interested in an update about the community campus, but we'll have to wait on that. I know there was meant to be a meeting with the PTA as well, an update, but I have heard that didn't happen. So we'll just wait eagerly on what's, because obviously the school, a new school's really needed. So we really want to hear what's happening. But yeah, we'll just have to wait on that, I guess.
Yep. Yes. So,
James, can I just add to Dixie that it's not for want of, you know, reminding and cajoling and but they, you know, we've got to get this one right, and we have to get the consultation right. And I think that you know, we need to make sure that we've got all those boxes ticked first, and then we can move on. Okay, so you know, I am you know, keeping them at it. Okay.
Is there any sort of, Carl, is there any sort of dates? Is there, you know, is there? There must be.
No.
There must be I mean, schedule somewhere. There must be a critical path.
Well, I think
the ex-project managers like Dixie and I, so we know about projects and all that. So you know,
yeah,
something must be an end date. And there's a start date. you know, and you've only got certain time scale. So, is there not a programme?
Well, I think maybe normally, John, there probably would be, but I mean, you can probably imagine the amount of work that all the education officers are doing at the moment, and they are also trying to look at building a new school at Galashiels and at Peebles. Earlston's there, so there's, you know, a lot for all the architects and the planners to do. But you know, I do send an email regularly into their inboxes. So hopefully after tomorrow we'll have a bit more.
Where is Eyemouth in the priority of those other four, though?
Oh, first.
Well, right.
Okay.
The issue is that we're still awaiting a public consultation, really, and that obviously hasn't been easy, but we could, you know, we could do to at least hear some plans about how that's going to happen, and hopefully move that forward, because that's what, you know, the Eyemouth community need to be consulted, because they've got different views. Instead of being just told this is what's happening, you know, it was presented with a campus plan without really any consultation. So hopefully they have said they'll consult, and we're looking forward to hearing how they're going to do that. That's what I would say.
Great. I'm going to pass all that on tomorrow, if that's all right.
Thank you, Carol.
Of course.
Okay.
I have to say that the new lady that's dealing with it, sorry, I can't remember her name. She's dealing with the consultation. She did sound very positive, and although they're all caught up with 101 other things, from her point of view, the main aim was finding out what the public wanted and really get stuck in and make sure that what the community wanted and needed priority. So that's one of the positive things I took from it. The new person in charge was listening. So fingers crossed, and we'll see how that goes.
Good. I mean, for me, the most, you know, we've got to listen to all the parents, we have to listen to the pupils, the staff. You know, that's really, really important to find out what they feel. There's also an overarching education strategy, I think I've got that right, coming out next year, and that's a government-led strategy, and so it's making sure that Scottish Borders Council are in line with that, and so you know, that is pretty important, very important actually, for the council to be waiting for that. Okay.
Right.
Very good.
Anybody else? Morgan needs to get back to Emmerdale or Coronation Street, I think.
Aye, 25 minutes.
Right. Well, thank you very much, everybody. And genuinely, seeing as it's our second last meeting, we'll have a meeting on the 31st of March, which is a Wednesday. So please book a Wednesday night. Genuinely, thank you very much, because it's been a long 3.5, 4 years, and I've appreciated every second that you've given. So thank
Well,
you
we've
very
appreciated
much.
all the work that you've done. It's been amazing what you two back there have done. And maybe, just maybe, we will be all together in the same room on the 31st of March.
That would be nice.
Yes.
And then we could go to Oblo afterwards and have a drink together as friends. Isn't that really nice?
That would be really nice.
So here's
Okay.
hoping for the Oxford vaccine.
Fingers crossed. Thank you very much, everybody, and I'll see you all around.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good night. Good night. Good night.
Bye.
Well done,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Have a happy Christmas.
See you, Carol. Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Good year when it comes.